I was looking at a video that Willie D did yesterday, and he was talking about the state of Utah and this new um, law that just came out for that state. And we all know that Utah is known as the Mormon state, and let's just put it this way: it's not really a place for black people unless you play for the Utah Jazz, and that's about it. But this guy's name is Gary Herbert, and he is the governor of the state of Utah. And on March 29th, in which this article I'm gonna read from came out, they repealed a law that was created in 1973, where it stated that if you had extramarital affairs, outside of your common law marriage, you will be hit with a fine and probably, some pretty steep penalties. Well, now they have pretty much repealed that, decriminalized that law, and made it legal for you to basically have sex with anyone you want outside of your marriage, and you will not be penalized. First off, I didn't even know that there was a law in place that said if you even had an extramarital affair, that you will actually be hit with these penalties. Because, usually when you have an extramarital affair, they'll take it to court and you most likely will try to maybe file for divorce in most cases. But I didn't know it was that deep for the state of Utah. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article coming from npr.org and see what other information we can get out of this. Until this week, sex between unmarried people in Utah was technically illegal, a vestige of earlier times. That changed Wednesday when Governor Gary Herbert signed a bill that decriminalizes sex outside of marriage in the state. Utah's 1973 fornication law designated sex outside of marriage as a Class B misdemeanor. The act carried a possible penalty of up to 6 months in jail or a maximum fine of $1,000. Utah was among only a few states that retained these laws. State Senate Minority Leader Karen Maine sponsored the bill and tells NPR that it's just a small piece in Utah's criminal code that needed to be revamped. You hear all over the U.S. how you have antiquated laws about horses in the street and all kinds of things, so we wanted to make them modern day in the now. The measure also modifies criminal offenses. State Representative Paul Ray called the 1973 fornication law unenforceable, but some lawmakers did not want it repealed on moral grounds. Personally, I don't know if anyone ever worried about this. Emily Anderson, a senior at the University of Utah and editor-in-chief of its newspaper, the Daily Utah Chronicle, tells NPR. The fornication law was really just something that people joked about in class and on Twitter. Basically just like, oh, thank God I can do this thing I've always been doing. The law had not been prosecuted for years, according to a Utah website covering policy. In a 1991 Deseret News report, an unmarried woman was quoted as saying she had real concrete fear of criminal prosecution for breaking the fornication law. I'm aware that last year, another person in Salt Lake County was criminally prosecuted for such conduct, she said in a lawsuit filed that year. So no wonder nobody really knew about this law, because a lot of states didn't have it. That's why it sounded so foreign to me. I was like, a fornication law. So like I said earlier, is basically it was a law where if you had sex outside of your marriage with somebody who was unmarried, then there would be penalties that could be put upon the person that was unmarried. Now, I don't know if maybe I misread something or something to that effect, if anything would happen to the person who was married. But right now, it seems like the penalties only fell on the person who was not married or in that relationship. Almost like how they're treating this opioid thing, where they are giving rehab to those who overdose, but they want to jail the drug dealer. But like I said, I didn't know that this state had a fornication law, but then again, it is Utah. It is the Mormon state, and stranger things have come out of it. We're talking about a state that probably has a good intense level of ancestral relationships and probably some bestiality cases on their hands. I mean, it seems like every story that has come out of Utah that I've ever done, none of them were ever really good. Like none. But I'm guessing the people in Utah are probably happy about this now, because they probably like, we got too many people caught up in this law and we're tired of it. So we're just going to go ahead and decriminalize the entire thing. And you can basically go out there and fuck whoever you want. At that point, why even get married? I mean, at that point, why? Why bother? Before you know it, they might actually put in there a polygamy law. having more than one spouse. But then again, if that would be pointless, because if they're allowed to go out there and have sex with whoever they want outside of their marriage, that would defeat the purpose. I mean, why bring in a more added stress to your life? Because then they got to live with you. But I guess it is what it is. But I want y'all to let me know down in the comments. Do you think that this would be a law that could be widespread across the establishment? Like, if you're married right now and they brought in I guess you could say, an anti-fornication law, would you be okay if you could legally have sex outside of your marriage and nothing would happen? To be quite honest, I wouldn't be surprised if some of y'all have done that already, but y'all just didn't have a law to back you up on it. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.